The morning they threw us out is one I'll never forget. The air was so cold it felt like it was cutting through my bones, and the only sound was the movers dragging out the last pieces of furniture we ever bought for that house. 30 years of our lives gone in a few hours. And what hurt worse wasn't the boxes or the empty rooms. It was hearing our own kids we raised, fed, clothed, fought for, call us a burden. Dad, Mom, you know this is for the best, our oldest daughter Rachel said, hiding her eyes behind those fancy sunglasses. Our son David waved for the truck driver to hurry up like we were some business deal he couldn't wait to close. And then there was the line that nearly broke me. You're sick. Broke, and frankly, you've become too heavy for us to carry. Imagine hearing that from the mouths of people you once carried on your shoulders. I gripped the leash of our old shepherd Max tighter. He pressed into my legs, trembling but standing firm like he understood exactly what was happening. They wanted us gone. They wanted him gone too. Drop him at a shelter on your way to Grandpa's cabin, one of them said. If you're stubborn enough to keep him, that's your problem. That's when I looked at my wife, Eleanor. Tears in her eyes, but her chin held high. We'd mortgaged everything for these kids, sold our car, so one could start a restaurant, worked overtime, so another could finish med school. Nights without sleep, years without rest. And now, nothing. We drove away in an old pickup with a busted heater, shivering in silence for 4 hours through the Colorado backroads. I kept my eyes on the road, jaw locked tight. Eleanor held Max against her chest, whispering, "Remember when Daniel broke his arm? We never left his side. 3 nights in that hospital, we never left." She trailed off, and I knew if I answered, I'd break down, so I just drove. When we finally got to the cabin, it was worse than I imagined. Half the roof caved in. Windows boarded up, smelled like rot and mold. Some inheritance. But Max sniffed around like he was on a mission. He found an old key buried in the dirt, led us to a locked storage shed behind the house. Inside, tool supplies, even a working generator. It was like he knew all along we weren't finished yet. That first night sitting on broken floorboards with the wind howling through the cracks, Eleanor whispered, "They thought this was our grave." And I answered, "Then let's make it our rebirth." We worked every day. My hands, old and stiff, remembered what 50 years of laying brick and fixing machines had taught them. I rebuilt the walls. Eleanor figured out a way to filter water from a nearby spring. And Max, he kept disappearing into the woods, coming back soaked his fur, shining like he'd bathed in something more than river water. One afternoon, Eleanor twisted her ankle hauling wood. She cried out, and for a second I panicked. We had no hospital, no neighbors. But Max barked, tugged at her pants, pulling us up a hidden trail. At the top, steam rose from a crystal pool, a hot spring. She dipped her foot in, and within minutes the swelling eased. By nightfall, she was walking again. Word traveled fast, even in the mountains. A neighbor, Dr. Morris, an old veterinarian, stopped by after hearing we'd moved in. He studied Max and said, "This dog is 9 years old, but his body's like a pup. Whatever he's been bathing in, it's extraordinary." That's when he told us about the old legends, how the springs had been sacred long before any cabin stood here. Weeks passed. We grew stronger, healthier. Eleanor's arthritis faded. My back pain disappeared. Max ran like he was 3 years old again. And with Dr. Morris helping, we started something new, a retreat. Folks came broken and left renewed. We charged just enough to keep it sustainable, but people didn't care about the price, they wanted hope. 6 months later, the so-called cabin where our kids left us to die had become a sanctuary. We built guest cabins, planted gardens, guided people to the springs. We called it Haven Springs, though most folks just called it Max's Ranch. News spread, reporters came. Even CNN ran a story. At 73, Eleanor looked 10 years younger. And me, I felt alive again. That's when the kids came back. All 5 of them. Pulled up in their shiny cars, fake smiles plastered on. Dad, we need to talk about family responsibilities. David started all lawyer-like. Rachel chimed in. We admit we made mistakes, but we can fix this together. Expand, bring in investors, make this place big. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Family responsibilities. I repeated. That's rich coming from the ones who left us on the side of the road with a dog and a set of rusty keys. Eleanor stepped out holding a recorder. She pressed play. Their own voices filled the mountain air. They'll never last a winter. Once they're gone, we'll sell the land and split it. Their faces went pale. Max stood between us, Hackle's raised eyes locked on them like he knew exactly who they were. I told them, when you needed us, we gave everything. When we needed you, you gave us nothing. You lost the right to call us family the day you chose money over love. They left that day, and we stayed greeting new visitors who came with gratitude instead of greed. 2 years later, Haven Springs was valued at over $2 million. Universities studied the waters. A documentary crew followed Max, now a legend in his own right. Our kids, their businesses collapsed, their reputation shattered when recordings leaked of how they'd plotted our downfall. The courts dismissed their lawsuits with a line I'll never forget. You abandoned your parents to die in the mountains. You don't get to sue because they survived. The last time they showed up was Christmas arms full of expensive gifts and rehearsed apologies. But Max, old and wise, stood in the doorway refusing to move. Eleanor smiled and said, "The door is always open to genuine love, but not to opportunists." And we closed it. Some nights sitting by the fire with Eleanor and Max at my feet. I wonder if betrayal was the best gift we were ever given. Without it, we'd never have found this life, never discovered what true family really means. Now I'll ask you, watching this, what would you have done? Could you forgive children who abandoned you, or would you shut that door forever like we did? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I promise you, there's no easy answer. And if this story touched you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs reminding. Sometimes the cruelest betrayals are the very things that set you free. The morning they threw us out is one I'll never forget. The air was so cold it felt like it was cutting through my bones, and the only sound was the movers dragging out the last pieces of furniture we ever bought for that house. 30 years of our lives gone in a few hours. And what hurt worse wasn't the boxes or the empty rooms. It was hearing our own kids we raised, fed, clothed, fought for, call us a burden. Dad, Mom, you know this is for the best. Our oldest daughter, Rachel, said, hiding her eyes behind those fancy sunglasses. Our son, David, waved for the truck driver to hurry up like we were some business deal he couldn't wait to close. And then there was the line that nearly broke me. You're sick. Broke, and frankly, you've become too heavy for us to carry. Imagine hearing that from the mouths of people you once carried on your shoulders. I gripped the leash of our old shepherd Max tighter. He pressed into my legs, trembling but standing firm like he understood exactly